Well, hello, this is WA5LEE. My name is Lee, and I'm going to be walking you through some NetLogger training today. NetLogger is a program that is used extensively by many online clubs and groups to record statistics and check-ins for their online nets. All right, the first step is going to be to download the actual software onto your computer. You can find the software at netlogger.org/download.php, or you can just go to the NetLogger website and choose download. Once you choose to download, there are several different versions that you can download, including version for Windows. 32 and 64-bit are the same version for either platform. Mac OS, Linux Tarball, or Debian for use in an Arduino or a Pi. For those of you that travel that road. Now, you must download version 3.1.7. Even though it does say it is not stable, it is in fact stable. It has been stable for 2 years. They just haven't gotten around to putting in it as a stable version yet. I'm sure at some point they will do that, but until then, 3.1.7 allows you to take advantage of a lot of new features that were not included in 3.1.5, and they've kept 3.1.5 in there as stable for some reason. As I said, I don't know why. Regardless, pick your package, enter your name, your call sign, enter your email address, and then download the program. Once you have downloaded the program, you're going to install it. Self-explanatory. You double-click the installation that you've downloaded. It will ask you if you'd like to save it. If you haven't already downloaded, you can save it or you can run it. Step 2 would be to start the program installer. It will start the wizard. Hit the next button. Step 3, it'll ask you where you'd like to store it. I usually go with the default, which is program files. NetLogger, Mac and Linux will be a little bit different, but that's the basic idea. Once you've hit next and you finish, you're going to start the program up. And the window in the lower right-hand corner is what it will look like after you start the program for the first time. Now, this is for first-time users. If you've already gotten to this point, you can just take a quick nap, and we'll get to you in a couple of minutes. The first thing they're going to ask you for is your call sign and your name. If this is your first time, enter your call sign and your name, and click Done. At this point, I would recommend taking the double blue line shown in the left window and dragging it all the way to the bottom of the main window. The lower section is used for logging personal contacts and exchanging QSLs electronically after the net is completed. We're not going to get into the usage of that. It is only used for certain nets, such as Old Man Internet, Sideman Society, where you're actually exchanging QSLs with other stations for award purposes. And there are other nets out there that do real-time logging after the net is over. But for now, let's keep it hidden. You can always take a look at it later if your net uses it and you'd like to explore that at some point in the future. As you can see, the window's got a lot of information in it, and there are certain ways that we can reduce the clutter, especially if you do not have a lot of screen real estate. A lot of you have smaller laptops. You don't have the ability to have a whole bunch of things up at the same time. Some of us have more monitors. You can keep more information in there, but we'll go through the basics to try to clean up your screen a little bit and assume that you have a not lot of screen real estate. The next step you should do is you should go under the Edit menu, choose Checkins Table, and Enable/Disable Columns. That will bring up the box on the right side of your screen. Some clubs, such as OMISS, do exchange QSL info, get signals sent and received. You may want to see what frequency you contacted that station on, what their DXCC entry is, mobile, portable, which is the M/P, first time you contacted them, the last time you contacted them, their QSL info, their award info, It really depends on the particular net that you're looking to join. For the most part, I would recommend using the settings as they are here in this example. One of the most important things you should use, especially for a net that you visit often, is preferred name, especially if you're going to be contacting other stations as a normal check-in other than just a relay station or a net control. Preferred name is off by default. Preferred name adds a column that the net control or the logging personnel can put the person's preferred first name. In other words, if their license shows their name as Robert G. Harding and they prefer to be called George, they would enter into the database the preferred name of George. And this way, if you see their record, you see that even though Robert G. Harding is named Robert in his license information, his preferred name is George. And it's as simple as that. If your club uses other fields, such as member ID, like the main potato net, you can enable them as well to see the club IDs of the particular members. The next step that I recommend will be to drag, drop, and resize the fields and the columns to fit your particular monitor size. Some people have higher definition monitors and can fit more columns in the real estate of their screen. Some people use smaller screens with less area to view columns. But regardless, you can drag and drop the columns from left to right just by clicking on the title of the column, whether it be preferred name, call sign, remarks, etc., and dragging them left and right. You can also resize individual columns by clicking on the thin line between the two columns, and it will turn into a double-sided arrow, and you can make them smaller or wider, depending on the information that you want to display. Once again, as we discussed in the previous slide, some clubs use member IDs, some nets use awards. It really depends on the net that you're particularly looking to join, what fields you like to display. For a smaller screen, at the very least, you should always have the call sign, preferred name, perhaps the state that they come from, perhaps their member ID if your club uses that, etc., etc. The more information that you can view, the better, but if you have a smaller screen, it's perfectly acceptable to also scroll from left to right to see the additional information if you need to at any point. The next step you'd like to accomplish is to click the two buttons in the top of your logging window called AIM window and View Monitors. AIM stands for Almost Instant Messenger, and we'll show you why in a moment. And the View Monitors window, where you can see people who have not currently checked into the net, people who have checked into the net, people that are waiting to be checked into the net, etc., etc. You can resize and rearrange the windows to suit your particular view preferences, and the following is an example of how I generally do it. You can do it the way you'd like. Once you have all three windows up on your screen, you can resize them and rearrange them to fit your screen real estate. This is just an example of how I use it on a smaller monitor. I put the main window on the right-hand side, put the monitors window at the top left, and the AIM window at the lower left. And we'll explain what each one of these windows is. It doesn't matter if you put them on the right side or the left side. It's completely up to you, but it's best that you can see all three windows. Starting at the upper left, the Net Monitors window will show the call sign and the name of every station that is currently monitoring the net. It does not necessarily mean that they've been checked in. Doesn't necessarily mean they're going to want to be checked in. They may just be lurking. In other words, watching the activity on the net. They may not care one way or the other. If they join the net, they may just be looking to see what's going on. If they are highlighted in blue, it means they have been checked into the main window for the net. If they are not highlighted in blue, it means they have not. The lower left-hand window is now called the IM window. The AIM window, which stands for Almost Instant Messages. The way NetLogger works is, since it is an online database that everybody is viewing at once, you can't have the data stream full time or the servers would be completely overloaded. So what each individual NetLogger client, in other words, the one you're using or the one NetControl is using, does is it polls the NetLogger servers every 15 seconds. If you look under the clock where it says UTC, there are three little bars called net activity. What net activity is that shows in real time when your program on your computer is polling the servers for data. So every 10 or 15 seconds or so, those three little lights will light up green, and you've gotten the latest data from the server. So if somebody has typed something into the AIM window at the beginning of that 15-second polling period, you won't see it until the next polling period. And the polling period can be a little bit shorter, a little bit longer, depending on the server load. There's nothing you can do about it, so just be patient. If you type something in the AIM window in the lower left and you don't see it show up in the window immediately, once again, it has to be pushed to the servers and then come back out in order to show up in the window. And if anybody types to you, you have to wait as well. Unfortunately, as I said, that's a restriction. That's why it's called almost instant messenger. It is not anywhere close to AOL was or Windows, Microsoft Messenger, or Zoom, or any of the other collaborative online tools. Just be patient. Now that you've neatened up your screen and taken advantage of the three-window view and you've got everything neat on your screen, the next step is to create a profile. And what a profile is a personality you use for each separate net that you join. It's also used if you're a logger or a net control, but that's not for this video. So for all intents and purposes, each net that you join, you need a separate personality for. And the reason this is that what the personality contains is your personal preferences for that particular net, as well as a pointer to the database of check-ins for that particular net. As I stated earlier, some nets use the lower part of the logging window for exchanging QSLs. If you check into a net regularly that does exchange QSLs, you're going to want to have that lower part of the window visible. So you would want to create a specific profile for that net that does use the lower window. And then when you choose that personality or profile, your windows will be the way you want it with the particular columns you want them set up for that net, etc., etc. So that's the first step, and this is how we create a profile. If you have never used NetLogger before, you won't have any profiles already set up in NetLogger. So this part of the tutorial is if you have never checked into a net using NetLogger before, it's your first time installing it, and you'd like to create a profile, a first-time profile. It doesn't have to be a net-specific profile, but we'll get to that. So the first thing you want to do is you want to go to the Setup menu, and you want to choose the top choice, which is Club Profile. You will see a window similar to the upper right-hand corner, where it says Club Profile Setup. You want to unclick Auto Profile Change. Now, once again, if you've never checked into a club before, or a net, and this is your first time using NetLogger, you're going to pull down the little arrow on the pull-down menu after you've unclicked Auto Profile Change. If you have used NetLogger before, and you've checked into any nets and you have a current version of NetLogger, you will more than likely see a list underneath that arrow. If you pull the arrow down and there's nothing under it, you should restart NetLogger, because that will refresh the club listing of nets that are officially listed in the NetLogger servers. If you do not see any clubs listed in the pull down, as in the lower right-hand window example with a triple H net, OMIS, YL system, etc., and you've been given the profile URL of your particular club's net, you would create a new one and put the profile name. You can call it, for example, Michigan Amateur Radio Club, MARS, MARC, whatever. If you've been given a profile URL, which is the online database location, you would put that in there, and there's an example, www.example.com / the club profile name, all in capitals, and PRF, which is the suffix for a club profile, which is the online database. You will receive this from the nets that aren't officially listed. However, if you are joining a net, or you wish to join a net that is officially listed, and there's a few of them in there, you can see starting with Triple H net, AMRC at the bottom, there's Saturn, there's the Saturn 40, etc., etc. These are officially listed nets. All you would have to do is select that particular profile, and you can move on from there. If it's a net that's not officially listed and you've created a profile, you can scroll in that list and find the profile that you just created and choose that particular club's profile. Just to recap, if the net you're planning on joining is not a choice and you just installed NetLogger for the first time, quit NetLogger and restart NetLogger. This will load all the official nets that the NetLogger servers recognize, and you will have some choices in that pull-down personality menu. So once you've chosen your profile, you are now ready to join a net in progress. And how you would do that is to click the blue Select Net button. You will now be presented with a window that you can resize, which shows you a list of currently running nets. I did this at approximately 7 p.m. on a Friday night, so there weren't too many nets in progress, but you get the idea. Sometimes there can be up to 50 nets running at once, so you basically have to find the net that you're interested in joining, and once you've found it in the list, click the line of the net you wish to join. In this case, I've selected the OMISS 40-meter sideband net, and you can see the information, the frequency, mode, what server it's hosted on, which doesn't really make a difference for your purposes, who the net control and the logger is, etc. There's some more information off to the right, not that terribly important. So once you've found the net that you'd like to join, in the lower left-hand corner, to the left of the orange arrow, there is a button that says Monitor Net. You want to click that button. And now you have joined that net in progress. Okay, so now you are officially logged in to NetLogger and monitoring a net in progress. The main window, which from this point forward we'll refer to as the logging window, contains the information for every station that has been officially checked in to the net, whether they check in over the AIM window, which some clubs allow you to do, if you've checked in over the radio and somebody has heard you and they have logged you in there. Regardless of how you got in, this is the main meat and potatoes of NetLogger. It shows you information pertaining to each individual call sign that has been checked in and out. There's lots of different colors, lots of different information, and we'll break it down by columns. And this is how I have mine set up for the Saturn net. This happens to be a Salvation Army Team Emergency Radio Network net, and a lot of information there. As I said, each club has different fields that they look at, whether it's a member ID, some of them give awards, etc., etc. So let's break them down and see what some of these colors are. And once again, your particular net that you're joining may be a little bit different than this, but for the most part, things are going to be about the same. Now, there are two different lists of colors that can be seen in the main logging window. There's list 1, colors that only you can see locally on your computer. And there's a second list, which we'll get to momentarily, that can be seen by everybody that's watching the net. So in regards to colors in list 1, these are colors that you can use on your machine to remind you of certain things. And just as an example, if you call a station and you can't hear them, you can hit F6 and that will turn it yellow. You can hit F4 if you need that station for a future QSL card. If it's the type of net that does exchange QSLs like OMISS. If you're looking to get your WAS and you need Kentucky and you see a Kentucky station in the list, you want to highlight that line and hit F10 to remind yourself who you want to call first, etc., etc. You can develop your own system if you wish for marking that only you can see. So nothing that you do with these colors will affect anybody else on the net. Now, the second list of colors are used as follows generally by most regular nets on NetLogger. These colors can only be given to a line by official loggers or net control stations. And this is how generally they are used for most nets. If you see a station line in gray, it usually means they've checked out of the net. If they are not responding when they're being called, they will get a dark green line. The pink line is the station currently being worked by the person trying to reach them. In other words, whether it's you've been designated to, okay, you can call whoever you want, and the line will be on you. Or if they're taking comments, they will move the pink line down line by line by line as they get the comments, so people watching can see approximately where they are in the line for their comments, and they can go get a cup of coffee and know that they've got quite a while to go before they get called. The 4 most common colors that you will see, at least for most of the nets that are official nets and use this system, are relay station, which is an orange color, a VIP station, which is a maroon color, and that doesn't necessarily mean it's an important person. It could be the president of the club. It could be somebody celebrating a birthday. It could just be somebody that needs to be marked for a particular reason to draw attention to them. The net control operator is going to be a blue color, and the logger station is going to be a light purple color. And if you look in the window to the left, you can see all of the different statuses with their shortcuts C/O, N/H, and all the different colors that you may encounter in NetLogger. And you can pull this up by pulling down the edit menu, and you can see the colors. It'll pull this window up, and you can see what the different colors mean at any time. And that is basically all you really need to know to monitor and join onto a net using NetLogger. There are more advanced uses of NetLogger. If you are logging for a club, if you are logging for your club or another club and helping out as a logger, if you are helping as a net control, as a relay station, etc., etc. There's much more functionality to NetLogger, which we're not going to get into in this. At this point, we have gotten you onto the net. You've seen what the different colors can do. You know how to install the program, utilize the program, make the program operate based on your particular needs for the clubs that you wish to join, and utilize the real estate of your screen the best that you can. I hope this was helpful to some of you out there. If anybody wishes to leave any comments down below in YouTube, feel free. If anybody would like to reach out to me for questions, comments, I'm always available to answer any of those in regards to MCOM training or NetLogger or any of the other subjects that I have covered. My email address is wa5lee@wa5lee.com. So thank you again for your attention. Everybody have a wonderful day. Wishing you all good DX.